Have you ever wondered what a slightly overkill mixer for a synthesizer setup looks like? If you have, today you're in luck because we're checking out the Presonus 32SC mixer. It's their new line of mixers. They sent one over for me to test, and yeah, we're gonna have a little first look, try it out, see what it's about. Definitely something I'm excited about sharing with you all, but also very different from, say, the Bastel Dude that I've showcased before. It's probably a total overkill for some of you, but yeah, I'm actually quite excited about it, so let's go and check it out. So the StudioLive is definitely geared towards live use, but as the name implies, it's also great for studio usage, and you can do up to 32 channels of multi-tracking directly onto an SD card, which is something that I'm quite excited about, and it sports onboard effects, digital compressors, EQs, reverb and delay, and I have heard a little rumor that they might be working on chorus and flangers in an update. I'm not sure if that's true, but if it is, that would be amazing. So let's unbox it and check it out. Power cable, manuals and stuff. Okay. Here we go, it's very heavy. This is their new line of Studio Series 3 mixers, and this is the smallest one, I think. So it has a very small footprint, which was actually a prerequisite because I don't have that much space. And while it would have been nice to have even more faders, I felt that space is always such an issue. So yeah, let's keep it small, let's keep it simple. And you can actually rack mount it if you want to, but I won't be doing that. Okay, there we go. Wow, wow. This looks really cool. So if you didn't know, this is a fully motorized mixer, which is also one of the big kind of selling points, I guess. As with many things, I test it out in my kitchen first before it goes up to the studio. So let's turn it on. So let's start out by updating it and connecting it to a computer, and see if we can get some audio from it. So this was easy, just install the drivers, hook it up over USB, and let's see if we can get some audio through the mixer. There we have it. And over on the mixer, I think selecting track number 1 here. Can we do USB? Something's playing, and we have audio. And let's do track 2, and USB here as well. To test the mixer, I've hooked it up to my analog rhythm Mark II. It's an analog drum machine. I'm using 8 individual outputs, mono outputs, into the mixer. I have them set up here, so let's have a little listen. So that's the kick drum. So what you have here are motorized faders. So if I switch here, you can see that they jump. So what I dig here is that Presonus have put in a lot of effort into design and making it easy to use. If we look over here, these buttons access kind of different layers of the fader. So for example, we're in inputs at the moment, but we could just as easily go to a user setting, and suddenly these faders can be assigned to anything you want, basically. So you could have, for example, a bunch of drum tracks and controlling the volume just using the one fader in the user layer. So suddenly you have this extra layer of control that you can set up. Especially good for live use, looking at a lot of other reviews from people that will be using a mixer like this in a live situation. Super handy. But I can also see it being useful, for example, in a jamming situation, or when you just want to control a big synthesizer setup. So so if we jump back to inputs, you can see 1 through 16, these are small, I suppose, LED displays. And if we jump here with next, you can see the 32 channels. We also have the effects, the internal effects, the returns, as well as the returns from the aux input 1 and 2. So these are coming in here, and then we have tape, and we also have talkback. Now we can also access subgroups or different aux sends depending on what you set them up to be. This is very flexible. I haven't gotten into it that much, but it seems usable. We also have the effects down here. So the effects it's a good way to showcase the logic here. If I want to add some reverb to say channel number 9, just press FX1 here. Well, I press it like this, and then I just slide the fader up. So basically I can set different levels per track like this. Very handy for effects A. If I want to go effects B instead, say I want something else, say I want delay on it, just do it like this. Now, from speaking to people who have been using this mixer for a long time with their synth setups, I don't think like the internal effects is something you will be using a ton, but it's nice to have and it's very easy to set up. I have my 8 tracks here, and if I want to access one of them, I just press the select button, and then I can use the fat channel. I'm not sure what I think about that name, but the fat channel controls is basically for your gain staging, panning, so gate, we have compressor, EQing, you can access the aux sends for this individual track. You can select the source. This is Nifty, the input. So if it's the analog is over the network or USB or from the SD card. You also have channel settings, phantom power and that sort of stuff. So I've been testing out the 32SC for a couple of days now. I also use it with this STAGEBOX here, which gets me oddly excited. But I've actually never used a networking STAGEBOX before. So if you don't know what it is, it just hooks up over Ethernet, and one Ethernet cable gets me 16 additional inputs for the mixer and 8 outputs. So it basically works like let's say an ADAT expansion for an audio interface. Now I can hear the quite obvious comment that this is a STAGEBOX. It's meant to be used on a stage, and this is very true. This is the primary point of these boxes, but in a studio environment, especially if it's a professional one, the point is I can have this box in one end of the room, having access to 16 inputs, 8 outputs, and not having to worry about all the cabling mess. So one cable from the mixer to the other end of the room, having direct access to my multi-track recording and outputs. So if I, for example, want to output something through an effects unit, it's in the other end of the room. I don't have to set up a PATCHBAY for that. So it's sort of PATCHBAY and ADAT expansion all into one, I'd say, in terms of functionality, which is handy if you have the need for it. It's definitely not something that everybody needs. So you have to figure that one out for yourself, what your needs are in reality. But it sure looks cool. I need to exercise more. And before we move on, I just want to mention that doing the research for this video, I actually stumbled upon a new genre of videos, worship videos. Because of course, in houses of worship, you use a lot of audio equipment, and I found a really good channel that I'll link below. They've done some really good videos on mixers for live use, especially a good review on the Presonus 32SC, as well as a comparison to another mixer. So if this is something you're interested in, the live use application of these mixers in particular, go and check them out at the link below. Now this is not a full review of this product in any way, but I did want to bring up one negative, one thing that sort of annoyed me a bit with this product, and that is the touch screen. It has the same problem as, say, the Yamaha Mode EX. It's a bit sluggish, and sometimes it's not accurate. Sometimes I have to push multiple times, and I wish this is something they improve upon, because it would make the experience much smoother. It does work. It's not that big of an issue. However, it's a little bit like using my old iPad 2. So it works, I can do everything on it, I can play Netflix, and so on and so on. But it's a bit slow, it's a bit sluggish, and not super accurate. If the responsiveness and accuracy could be improved upon, that would be great, because otherwise it's actually a super well built product. Just from using it a week, you realize that a lot of effort has gone into the engineering of it. It's a super well designed product, but the touchscreen seems, a tad old, seems a tad dated. So I'd love to see an improvement on that. So how am I going to use this mixer? Well, this mixer will tie my room, my studio together, because in essence this has become more of a professional studio than a hobby studio. I do video work, I do music work, sound design work, I do a ton of things. So what I want to do is tie everything together, have an easier way of recording it, and so far it does seem to work very well for this. So with the mixer I can not only record my big synth setup, multi-track record it onto SD card, which is something I truly enjoy. I can also record this setup that I'm going to build over here and my 90-degree angle rig, so it kind of ties everything together. So that's my practical use case. So for my needs it makes a lot of sense. For your needs, well, you have to figure that one out, like I said previously. I also want to mention that there are plenty of other USB mixers that can do multi-tracking. Now I haven't had first-hand experience with pretty much anyone, but the Soundcraft Signature MTK comes highly recommended by many of my viewers. Presonus also has a cheaper range of USB mixers that come highly recommended and that can do multi-tracking as well. And then we have Allen & Heath as well. I haven't had any experience with their products, but they look good, so could be something to check out as well. And speaking of alternatives, let's go back to the channel that I recommended earlier. They actually have an excellent comparison between a Midas mixer and the Presonus, and they've actually used both extensively, and they talk about the pros and cons of each and how they stack up against each other. And there you can see that the Presonus has some really good design decisions, especially for live use, but also of course some drawbacks compared to the Midas. I am working on a video where I will showcase how I'm using the mixer for my entire, my big synth setup. So it'll showcase cabling, how everything is routed, my use of PATCHBAY, setting up aux sends, effects sends, and this video will be out later this summer. I just need to get to it because it's quite a lot of work. I'm not really looking forward to all the cable mess, but yeah, I need to figure it out. So before I leave you, I want to ask you, how do you record your hardware synth setup? Leave a comment down below. What kind of equipment do you use? What kind of problems do you have? What are the benefits with your setup? So let us know in the comment section. So this was Bo from BoBeats. Have a great day, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video.